ho, 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 ho.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Merry Christmas.
Ho 1 and ho 2.
Oh, what? Hold up.
Oh no.
Hold up.
That won't work for me.
All right, this is
I know what
turning
you're
us.
getting for Christmas now.
I know, coal. I'm getting ho coal. All right, it's.
No, you're just getting a cold hoe.
I may already have one for all you know. All right.
Oh
boy.
I just need the coal to heat her
farming
up.
tools. What are you talking about?
I don't know. We're just throwing more flames on the fire here. All right. The Christmas Hearthside Fire. All right. I'm Darren, and this is Arbitrage Trade. And my two hoes here, excuse me, my two guests. We don't have Daniel this week. He has had technical difficulties again. But we do have our banker, J.P. Morgan. I don't know. His flight might have been earlier, actually. I don't know. We'll see. And then we have, of course, Mr. Ho Ho, our Captain Ho Ho, which is with his meowy Christmas.
Meowy Christmas.
Yeah.
He's the CEO.
All of it. But you see the cat, and it's below it is his cat. Is what's going on there. All right. Wait, do we have music? Who's playing the music? Okay, so he has this little button that he pushes on his sweatshirt, and it does that. I'm glad you didn't open up. Yes,
well,
I do actually appreciate that.
He was going to bust out that one for a reason.
I didn't have the MP3 to play there, so you just did it from your shirt. Thanks. All right, I do need to say before we go any further that we are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. This is actual just entertainment and fun, and hope you're entertained, because that Gladiator came out not too long ago too. And then always consult an investment professional, by the way, before making any financial decisions. So let's talk. Speaking of green, I'm wearing a green shirt. You're wearing a green shirt. He's wearing a red. Hey, look at this. We've got over there. We've got the red shirt for stock going down, and you and I, Royce, have green shirts for stock going up. Okay.
Didn't it go down for Josh? I mean, hey,
well, let's talk about that.
I'm supporting the wrong team here.
Let's talk about that. We got markets basically keep doing the all-time highs again, and it's like on repeat every week. We talk about this, and then we also continue to talk about are we in a bubble and is it going to pop? So let's see. We had the Dow at 44.1, S&P tried to get back up to 6,100. And the NASDAQ went over 20,000. And basically it's tech again. I mean, it's every time it's tech. No matter how many times we try to say it's spreading out to the other 497, it's just, or 493. It's always tech that keeps getting pumped and more pumped. So here we are. So, okay. So the question is, are we in a bubble still? Are we not in a bubble, and it's going to just continue on because of the Trump trade and because of who Trump has put into place and the friendliness of these appointees?
Yeah, what do you define as a bubble then? If we're asking that question, what do you define as a bubble?
Well, we've talked about this before, and this is what the business folks say, but the PE ratios are way up than where they usually have been before, and it's all-time highs. So at one point, either you change the definition of what PE bubble even means, or you just
so it's a PE bubble.
Price to earnings, yeah. It's
okay.
But
I mean, yeah.
It's just all-time valuations, all-time high valuations for all these companies.
But isn't that like a 1930s way of measuring a bubble?
You can talk to CNBC if you want to about that. Not me. I'm just repeating.
I mean, hey, technology has changed tremendously since then. Tremendously.
Sure it has.
Right? So
that's why it's being pumped. The technology.
While technology is being pumped, is it being consumed as fast as it's being pumped? As long as it's basically being consumed as fast as it's being pumped, then it's not a pump. If it's, however, basically people are like, oh yeah, it's old news, we're going back to crypto, or we're going back to XYZ, or we're going back to anything else than technology, then okay, yeah, you basically, people lose interest, and then everybody sell, and then you get the bursting of a bubble. But as long as what you are wanting, and as long as the demand for what you're wanting is meeting the supply of what you can provide, and they keep coming out with new versions of AI. Yeah, this is not a bubble. This is just business as usual.
It's just there is an all-time waiting in these top sevens, and even the top threes.
I think you're a
all-time
perma
waiting.
bear. Are you a perma bear? You need a bear suit. I need you a bear suit for Christmas.
You get him a Christmas bear. It's Christmas bear sweater, like
right.
I want something else
Christmas
for Christmas.
teddy bear.
Not green, not red, brown. Brown.
You know what I should do? What I should do, like Lee Corso does on College Game Day. I should have the big bear mascot head, and I just put it on top of me at the beginning of every show.
What I find so interesting is that markets are made to go up, and everyone keeps trying to push them down.
Well, they were made to go up also, right? I mean, always. So even during the .com bubble, when we lost all of that, after finally everybody woke up and said, no, not all of these things are what they say they are, and some are just shell companies. It's like, is that going to happen again? And that's why all the valuations also got way off the charts. So there is some rhyming going on here. It doesn't mean it's going to happen again, but there is some rhyming going on.
With the .com bubble, I think it was far, far different. And this is why. This is mine. I'll give my 2 cents and I'll be quiet. Right?
You're 4 trillion worth? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. The .com bubble was not the fact that we didn't have the technology. We didn't have gigabit Ethernet. We didn't have the technology hadn't caught up to the demand of the people wanting it. So it was like, hey, we're going to move all of our business to the cloud, or I'm sorry, to .com, because we rebranded it later as the cloud.
Right.
And it sold as the cloud. But the infrastructure had finally caught up. Technology had finally caught up to the trend to allow it to actually take off and keep going. Hence this 14 plus year bull market that we're seeing. Basically, what pushed us down is that it couldn't meet demand, and then basically it buckled. Basically, you guys remember waiting to connect to AOL, waiting to connect to this, waiting to connect to that. There wasn't enough bandwidth to make the .com successful. Now that we have bandwidth, that's not a problem. So as long as we don't run into a technology bottleneck for AI and the different new technologies that are coming out right now, we shouldn't have a problem sustaining this pace.
Well, maybe that bottleneck is quantum computing, which is we're going to talk about a little bit later, and the speed of which that's being developed. But go ahead. I see something in your head.
Well, to Royce's point, as far as the tech is concerned, like you got to think about back in the late 90s, early 2000s, like late 90s or early 90s. It wasn't necessarily that like the tech hadn't caught up. It's that a lot of those companies that were handling those innovations and things were like startups. So they didn't have the infrastructure to really handle that influx of money, and everybody was just kind of throwing money at all of these various startups that had no real, it was all speculative and it was all growth based and things like that. But you look at now, the innovations that are coming out are all like the top tech companies, the companies that already have enough of a structure that when you inject them with that kind of liquidity, they can handle it and they can take it, and they have the structure to deal with it and can actually create these innovations. I mean, you look at like this rocket ship that has been tech for the past 10 years or so, and it's all like the Mag 7. It's the big guys. It's not, you're not getting these little startups or anything like that. That might change down the road when Trump deregulates a lot of things and we start getting a little bit more innovation, but a lot of those companies are just going to get bought up.
Yeah, but that's usually the life cycle. They see smart people, they buy them up, and they add them to their war chest. So, yeah,
and that's happening a little bit right now. And but the where it rhymes with the .com is the last part of what I said. .com. Everything that got added on that they wanted to raise the value of, they always put .com after it, even if it had nothing to do with .com. And we're doing the same thing right now with AI. It could be a company that really AI isn't a big player. It doesn't bring money in for them. They just say AI to try to get their stock higher and say this is where we're going to go with AI. But in the long run, it may not have anything to do with what they're doing, and it may not increase any type of productivity or return any type of investment. So we do have some rhyming going on. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but there's companies are trying anywhere possible, and you've noticed it in their ERs, to throw in the word AI, even if they're not really even doing AI. That's my point. Just like they did with the .com.
Hey, it's a buzzword.
It's a buzzword, right?
There's always a buzzword,
and that's why .com was a buzzword back then. So I mean, it's that's the thing. That's where it rhymes right now.
Point out, give you the buzzword rhyme, but it's not the majority of companies. Yes, basically, and people are also just getting the legs up under them, figuring out how AI works. So it's like, how can I automate anything in my business or in my company, even us, right? It's like, hey, like AI was added to Arbitrage in February, and I was an early adopter, which basically paid off nicely for us. But once again, with my background in IT and all this other stuff, I figured out quickly how to use it to get what I wanted out of it. For someone who runs like a dry cleaner or all these small businesses, maybe not, right?
There's a lot of that going on still, though. I mean, there's a lot of saying, well, with AI, we're going to be more productive. Well, no, maybe with robotics you will, but which uses AI, I guess. There's a way to link it all together, but that's also going to cause some other problems with employment, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we don't know. There's no way we could know right now, just like the Fed doesn't know what they're going to do for the next year.
I would say that one of the key things that's driving AI is the fact that IT people are using AI. So instead of going to, like, for example, when if I wanted to look up something, IT people don't just know everything. They will go to Google, they'll go, and there are websites that are out there that tells them how to do, or if there's an error that they run into, there's a website that can tell them how to do that.
There is a big difference.
Now basically makes it where it's like, I don't have to go and get a possible answer. I can go ask the question directly, and it searches the web, comes back with an answer, and goes, here you go. So tech is still driving the business, and basically those people who are self-starters and those people who are innovative are able to excel even faster because they can bring solutions to the table that usually would take longer. Or it's like, hey, no one's ran into this error yet, but AI still knows how to fix it.
Right. So the learning curve is definitely shortened from back then. And you don't have to go to college for 4 years, and then you'll acquire that knowledge. You can go on to Google and go on to YouTube and learn in an afternoon, which you might have taken a year in college to learn. So I can see that obviously accelerating how quickly AI does get utilized. And like I said, we're still waiting to see, and this is a good segue into the next segment, see how it actually returns investment dollars, because there's so much money being put, and there's going to be more, because when we transfer over to mostly quantum computers, you're talking about more money being invested as we hit each level of what the AI power needs to run, I guess. But go ahead. You have some comments there, and then we'll get to the next segment.
No, I was actually just going to go back to the original point, I'm speaking for Daniel since he's not here, and I think this is kind of what he was getting at. Is he mentioned in the notes that like the market cap to GDP ratio, which is something that Buffett had made popular back in the 70s or something like that, and it's like market cap over GDP times 100, and you get a percentage, and if the ratio falls between like 50 and 75%. It's considered, undervalued. The market's not healthy. It's fair if it's like 75 to 90. And if we get to 90 to like 115 or so, the market is considered, wildly overvalued. We are currently at 205%. So if you go back to the last like 3 crashes and look at 2000, 2008, and then the pandemic, we were at 135 in 2000, 105 in 2008, and hovering right around 140 before the pandemic hit. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there is some calls for concern if you're using that particular measurement, because we're sitting here at 200 plus and still have not had some sort of magical correction or recession or crash or anything like that. And we were wildly blown past all three of the last pandemic. I mean, all three of the last crashes as far as that particular metric is concerned. So yeah, I can see some calls for concern with the bubble.
Yeah. But what about the Industrial Revolution? Meaning when things start to be mechanized and factories start to get stood up, and basically we were able to start mass producing things. Has anyone looked at the market in that time period to see how overbought people thought it was? Like, everyone's getting a car. Everyone, you have 2 TVs? Whoa! Right? It's like things were hot and they were on fire pretty much because we had created something that now basically literally changed exactly how our lives are basically operated. Everything from the biometrics on your phone to basically having a phone that you don't have to have a cord. Who has a house phone? Not almost anyone at this point in time, right? So, and the stuff that we saw in Back to the Future in 1985, yeah, that's almost 50 years ago, folks. That's almost 50 years ago.
Has been done, Royce, just to validate your point. The many guests, especially these investment firms that come on CNBC, and you could see a progression. They talked about this is not 2000, this is not blah blah blah. They addressed every single crash, and they started using about 3 months ago. Started using this is like the Industrial Revolution. They actually point that out. I know you don't watch TV, so it's funny that you say that. You say that, and that's exactly what they have studied and got into a boardroom and brainwashed and came out with exactly that. The Industrial Revolution is what it is compared to.
There are numbers to support it.
Go ahead. One more thing, Josh, and then we'll move on. I can see you guys.
Oh no, I was actually going to pull up the chart. Let's see. The Industrial Revolution was back in like this late 1700s, the 1800s. I think the market itself was created shortly before that. I was going to try to see if I could find an actual number, but it doesn't look like those.
Yeah, that's the hard part, finding the numbers that are accurate to be able to track it as well as we need to. And I think this is probably the first time we're in a place where we can actually track, saying, okay, what in my opinion, what should be tracked is how fast it's expanding. If you can track how fast it's expanding, if you can see it start to contract, that's when you get your crash. Because you don't have any topping right now. Everything's week after week after week up and to the right.
It's new frontiers. New frontiers, so there's no history when there's new frontiers.
It's maintaining its speed. It's like I gained 5 weeks last week, the week before that, the week before that, and the week before that. I'm continuing to stretch. Not only am I getting 5, I'm getting 510, 520, 530. So basically, my rate of growth is allowing me to just continue to stretch and up and to the right.
Yeah, you're creating new history, and it's like when the stock goes to all-time highs and it passes wherever it's ever been before, and so you don't know what's going to happen next, and that's kind of where we are. But that also could be looked at both ways. We don't know where we are, so which way is it going to go? It's kind of a guess because you don't have history to back it up. Just like this presidential switch over.
Follow until it's
never happened before either.
Try to predict when it's going to happen.
Yeah. It is interesting stuff. Maybe we need some quantum computers to figure all that out for us. Let's move on.
You're full of good segues today.
There we go. But AI Force is the next. Oh, by the way, you were talking about Daniel's notes. Since he's not here, we'll go ahead and throw that other one in that he said. He said that Microsoft, Apple, and NVIDIA have a market cap of more than 10 trillion, and that is more than any stock market in the world outside of the United States. Just those three. And then he said that the U.S. represents over 60% of all investable stocks in the world. So that's a new frontier, if you will, as well. And, they've been saying the Mag 7 or whatever. It's like I said, well, now we have the Man 3, the Microsoft, Apple, and NVIDIA. We could start calling it that. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. So moving on to Salesforce. That was his next thing, which is kind of continuing on what we're talking about. But it went 10% up after, and this is when you start talking about justifying AI, at least how they twisted it to say that. They have 200 customers that are using it, and apparently It has given customers an advantage, almost OP, if you will, um, and easily integrated with customers' data, like unlike Copilot does. They're expecting to hire 2,000 new salespeople, which could create a whole nother issue. And then the question that Daniel said is, will this growth continue as models become commodities, or is this really a turning point for AI? So that's why this next group here is kind of a really good segue to
Yeah.
get more specific into it. First of all, I mean, just to throw it out there, if you are hiring more people and you're paying them more, this was in one of my 3 things, by the way, this past week, then that's going to create more inflation because you have more people that are being paid. That's going to filter down eventually. If all these big tech companies are hiring more people for more
This is
money,
me sipping tea.
yeah, I know it is. And Kermit the Frog, you got the green on. um, but that's going to roll down like it has been. And what's creating our inflation right now is not, like I've said before, the lower 80%. It's the upper 20% that have all this money that they're making even more money, and they're basically propping up all these industries by spending even more so than they were before. You can keep with your look. Have another sip of tea, Royce.
It's
And
hard. It's hard. It is hard. I am trying my best because I'm
so
like,
anyway, okay. So here's the question. Here's the question after all that, and then you can do commentary too, Kermit. Is
I'm
that
gonna start giving tests every week on these terms.
is is um is this a turn in justifying the AI value? The fact that Salesforce is saying that Agent Force, which I haven't done any information. If you guys know anything about Agent Force, then speak up after I'm done. Um, but they're saying that the customers using Agent Force, which I guess must be AI, um, is so good that it is that they need to hire 2,000 people. They have put those two together. So, is what do you think, Royce, Kermit? Because it's just coming out of you, and then Josh.
Well, you know, oh, no.
By the way, how's Miss Piggy? Go ahead.
Those are dangerous grounds.
I got,
He might kill you.
I was about to say, I hope she doesn't watch
I'm
this.
not. I'm not saying that she. Oh my goodness, no. That's not, you're
Yeah.
representing Kermit, not Royce. Go.
There were things implied.
You did. I
You
did.
might get, yeah, some
Mhm.
coal in your stocking this year.
Please move on.
No, so as far as sales agent, I do think that basically hiring people who have learned to use AI is a very smart move. And basically, not, whether you want to accept it or not, prior to Google coming out, right? Prior to Google, so this is like 1999 ish. Everyone's like, Yahoo, you're searching, we're searching, right? But now, basically, Google became so much of a household name that searching means Google, right? But Google is not a search engine. It is a search engine, but that's not all they do. AI, your children or your grandchildren will more than likely be using something that's using AI, and either you get with the times or you get left behind, right? Like I have a couple of family members that are refusing to even touch AI. They're scared of it, but I'm like, at the same time, if you don't know your enemy because they work in IT, then how are you going to basically compete with your allies or the people that might get hired past you because they came up with solutions that you literally all you had to do was ask the question for, right? And as far as inflation, basically just to touch on inflation versus hiring more people. Inflation happens because they print more money. It has nothing to do with how many people have a job or not, right? So if the government continues to print more money, then there's more out in circulation. And then people, because there's more money in circulation, they raise the prices to make sure that all the money gets used.
Exactly.
Right? So
Being raised, yes.
all right. So with that being said, I do think that yes, there is a place for everyone in this new reality with AI. I don't see where it's like it basically the only people I think it honestly hurts are the people who are unwilling to try it.
Josh? Anything to
Oh,
add?
I mean, I was just going to go back to,
Saw your thinking face.
That agent force that agent that Salesforce is rolling out is basically just an enhanced chatbot. And I don't know. I mean, again, I don't know. This is just off the cuff. I don't know anything specific about this one. It may be head and shoulders above the rest, but I cannot tell you how many positive and not frustrating interactions I've had when I go to a website and I have to deal with a chatbot that's buried in someone that's a real human customer support agent that's buried behind 3 layers of whatever automation. It is extremely frustrating. And so if this one is as revolutionary as they're claiming it to be, that's great and wonderful. But real world experience, I'm going to, it's to be determined, because I cannot stand having to go onto a website and get, click help. If I'm already at that point where I'm needing help and going to the website, I've probably exhausted the first 3 options. So like having to go through and ask the same questions over and over and over and over and over just to get to the real answer is an extremely frustrating experience. And so if that's what it is, I'm less than enthused.
Yeah. But
what's the learning process for?
Yeah. I think the longer, just like AI, it's a model, it learns, right? The more people use it, the smarter it gets. And basically they've tested, or basically they've been running it through its cycles to make it smarter, right? And the problem that I see versus human versus AI in this capacity on a website is that one person may be really good at their job, one person may be really bad at their job and may not be able to answer the question. AI has all of the answers, and it doesn't have to basically go, I don't know, let me go call my supervisor, let me go call a manager. It goes, this is in the database. Here's your answer.
Yeah, but you just gotta, I mean, the thing that is, I guess, the most concerning part of AI in general is the fact that it seems to use both of those opinions, like the people who don't, the information, not opinions, the information from the people who don't know what they're doing and the information from people who do know what they're doing.
Yes.
And so,
but they also weigh it. So basically, probability of it being the right answer or wrong answer.
I mean,
it's only created by life or experience of whether it is or not. So it has to go back and check itself, or a person has to, not a bot, go back and check to see if those were correct, and which would weigh it more towards this is more the correct answer than the other.
Yeah, I've actually asked ChatGPT a question once, and I'm like, no, you're wrong. Try again. And it goes, sorry, my bad, and then gives the right answer.
Well, that's concerning, but yes.
Okay. No, that also means it's not perfect. That's why you should always check.
People don't, though. That's the problem. I mean, you and I would, because we understand that that's an issue. But if these chatbots are not going to be asked, well, that's not the right answer, please give me another, then
I mean, well, and that's the scariest part.
I see the frustration. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the scariest part to me, is because you think about that old, like, I think it's George Carlin quote, like, think about how dumb the average person is and realize that 50% of them are dumber than that.
Dumb and dumber.
And I mean, you've got people on like Reddit that are putting up threads and supposedly helpful information, and AI is pulling data from that.
True.
Yeah. The only scary part about AI, in my opinion, is that because it can make the news, it can create propaganda machines and make it seem very, very real.
This is why Elon has said it, but from the beginning, that it's kind of a dangerous thing, and it's got released too early, blah blah blah. So that's the why. That's why is those very things. I see you're leaning in very well, Royce, but now your half your head is about check. Is okay. Just letting you know. All right, so, we got to see your pretty whole face. There we go. All right, so let's move on to NVIDIA. We're just going to stay tech. It's the tech hour.
It's the tech year.
Tech year.
It is. It's going to be the tech life, I think. So we're talking about antitrust, monopolies, blah, blah, blah. That's where everybody's going now. But I wonder, is that going to change once the new administration's in? So that's going to be the interesting thing about it, because the administration coming in is more pro-business as far as when it comes to non-regulations, which I have a problem with, and with not checking things to see if they're all on the up and up, blah blah blah. Just let them just run amok. And I'm talking about them. But right now, China, other countries are doing it. So that's nothing new. But I mean, especially with this tech run that we've had, a lot of other countries outside the U.S. are challenging what these U.S. companies are doing. And it's almost like it's a new war that's going on. It's happened with Google. This specific thing that Daniel brought up, which by the way, Google, they just want to split up into I don't know how many different companies, but China is going after NVIDIA now. And this is this back and forth. And they want to challenge the monopoly of what Google is and what it stands for. And now they're doing NVIDIA. So it's what's going to happen here with NVIDIA? What do you think? I mean, are these governments going to get together and take it down, or is it just because the algorithms say it's time to go down, so they have to create an event to justify that it's going to go down anyway? What say you, Josh?
I mean, nothing's going to happen. Like literally nothing's going to happen. This is a grabby headline to show that
virtue signal.
Someone in the government is not, all in on NVIDIA, and they're trying their best to take it down, and then they can come back around, years down the road and be like, well, we tried to take them down, back in 2024 and it didn't work. And so now, right. It's just, it's a grabby headline that it's ultimately going to end up meaning nothing or ending up
business friendly, non-regulating new SEC, business friendly, non-regulating FTC. I mean, it's kind of scary. It's like, is this going to be just the wild, wild west is the way I see it. And is it going to be nations going after other nations through this route, through monopolies and not allowing their technology to be in their country, at least on the surface?
I guess this is where I put on my tinfoil hat just for you guys.
There we go. Thank you. Yes. We pulled it out for him. All right, yes. Mr. Meowie. Meowie tin hat. Let's go.
So I know you guys have heard me say this before, and people have never believed me yet, but I still think it's going to happen. We're going to evolve, and we're going to go past a regular city-state type government where you have corporate congresses. You have corporate companies that are so big, and they have so much pull across the globe that basically they have voting rights on things that's going on in the world globally.
You mean in an official basis? It's going on now anyway. It's going on now anyway.
They've managed their company so well that it is big enough to actually compete on a global scale, because let's say it makes up 50% of GDP in Great Britain. It makes up 40% of GDP in America. It makes up 25% of GDP in Australia. Why not? Why wouldn't it have some say, just like the Fed does? Because the Fed is just a bunch of rich people that are lending the money to countries. So why not?
The scary part is that I don't think a lot of people would disagree with you, because that is like the plot to every dystopian movie that we grew up with. And it's literally unfolding before our eyes. Like, you go back and look at, the funny thing is that if you ever watch the movie like Idiocracy, the things that happened that parallel in today's world is terrifying. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, that movie, and the even scarier part of it is that movie was dated like 2500. So we have really accelerated the timeline, because it's 2024 and we're there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, just it's really scary, because I mean, we are getting to the point, like, to your point, we've got, I think back in like the late 90s or so, the billionaires controlled like 2% of the GDP in the US. Now it's up to 12 as of a few years ago. God knows what it is now.
And you have companies going into space instead of countries.
Right. And you look at, I mean, and then even the flip side of it, not to be morbid, but then you've got guys like CEOs of companies that get shot, and the masses are cheering.
I gotta go. No.
You know,
No,
and
Trump
then,
keeps saying 51st state to Canada.
yeah,
Keep
and then
saying it.
and Darren, you'll enjoy this one. I looked it up, and like both like between BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, they
Yes.
own 20% of the entire stock market.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Look how much money they have in municipalities.
That's
in
enough
countries.
of a controlling share to move market.
Yeah.
So if everybody between the corporations, the government, and the market are all coordinating this, like that's the reason we're getting into this whole thing about like stocks only go up.
Yeah.
The whole point was globalism.
Only go up and be self-governing. They were designed because technically it's an auction. But if you give them too much power to dictate what's going on, even the people who regulate it can't regulate them anymore because they own too much of the whole.
Or they've been bought.
All right, guys.
Yep.
I appreciate you guys validating what I've said for a couple of years now, which is anybody that wants to look into this, which I've been, digging in that rabbit hole for 4 years. Like I've said before,
you made me put on a hat. How dare you?
Go look at blah 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 2030, and you'll be amazed what you come up with on Google. And here we go. It's 2024, about to be 2025, and it's 5 years away. And I think maybe this change in administration may push it back out to 2035. Now I'm hearing or something. So it's just go look at that up. Just look down that rabbit hole.
Democrats for all this.
Oh no. This is both parties. Trust me.
Because a Republican got in office. Hold on.
No. The corruption runs on both sides. Trust me. But 2030 is the agenda. 2030. Go look at Davos. Look at Switzerland. Look at all of that. Put it all together and just have a good old time this weekend. Let's move on to. See, I got the last word on that.
If you start your car and it doesn't start properly, and I have to see you in the hospital.
No, I'm serious. I've already been canceled twice, right? I've been canceled twice for bringing up 2030 and stuff like that. All right, so Google debuts Willow. We're moving. Keep on going with AI here. Google debuts their Willow chip. It's a quantum computing. Is it a chip or I guess it's a chip, right?
Yeah.
And it is supposed to be the fastest thing ever, and they debuted it, and that's why Google stock went up as it did the last couple of days to crazy numbers. And it's saying that, let's see what it said. World's fastest supercomputer took 10 septillion years to figure out something that this one did in 5 minutes. Talk about scary. And then Apple's working on quantum proofing iMessage. What's the next step here, Royce? I mean, you're certainly the one to talk to about this, which is where's quantum computing going? Where is it now? Is it still developmental, so to speak? And then where's it going to go?
Well, there are several things that basically contribute to quantum computing, and this is from a strictly technical standpoint, not economic, financial, whatever. In order to get into quantum computing, you have to have something that can cool a quantum computer, right? So I think that there's going to be some key players in here, and one of those key players I think is actually going to be GE.
Yeah,
right.
GE
has created a closed circuit helium thing that basically makes the cooling of basically helium is really, really cold, right? So they basically made a closed loop on this. So basically, anyone probably partnering with GE in their Freelium or Helium project, that I think it is called Freelium, will probably take the lead in the quantum computing space. One of the reasons that video cards are doing so well, basically, it takes a lot to cool a CPU. That's why GPUs were created. So the next leap is how small can we make it, and how hard will it be to keep it cool so you don't start fires everywhere.
I had to look it up while we're going at it. I mean, might as well. The top producers of helium are United States and Qatar. Interesting. Wow. So we should be looking at the country of Qatar. I'm saying it right. Qatar, right?
Yeah.
Qatar.
I think that was a traditional pronunciation, but it's been
but we know who we're talking about. We should just see what happens with these wars right now. I got to go look and see where that's actually located. Interesting. But anyway, yeah, helium. So why isn't Musk, who just has his supercomputer here in Memphis using the Mississippi River, why isn't
Who
he using
says he's
helium?
Yeah, but
not?
those are two
Who
different
says
things.
he's not?
It's a cooling. That's why he's using the water, right?
That's what the tabloids have said. Who says
I
he
got
is?
you. Okay.
Because that becomes a point to speak about, right?
Yeah.
Look
Okay.
that way, or I
Interesting.
go this way. So that way they don't know how they're advancing their technology.
Like
Gotcha. So he
quantum
didn't want to,
computing
he
is
didn't want to
really
get out. Yeah, I
like
got
really.
you.
I'm not saying I begin to understand it, but quantum computing is a really interesting dive if you get time to look into it. Like,
Yes.
because
Yes.
it's a cross between like actual like quantum physics, quantum computing, and like quantum mechanics.
Yep.
And it like there was actually an interesting point. If you read like the blurb that they put out about Willow that came out, and like just for perspective, like when you go back to septillion, like 10 septillion is one with 25 zeros behind it. Like that is an astronomical difference. But the biggest flaw of quantum computing is it's based off qubits. And the more qubits you have, the more error prone it is. And that's the biggest hurdle that they've been trying to overcome in quantum computing, because they keep getting it the faster, smaller, and the smaller the qubits get, the more error prone it is. So it's almost like it's fighting itself in advancement rather than us just not really having that, the technology there. But the one interesting thing was it said, in the blurb, it says it lends credence to the notion that quantum computation occurs in many parallel universes, in line with the idea that we live in a multiverse, a prediction first made by David Deutsch. So not only did they drop, hey, we got Willow, but Willow is also predicting that we live in a multiverse.
Hey, why not?
Just kind of, literally just mic drop that out of nowhere at the bottom of the blurb. And a couple of people, the people in the tech sector were like, this doesn't make sense. But a couple of people that get into like physics and quantum computation and like quantum mechanics and things like that, they're like, hey, this has mostly been validated by math.
Yep. I'm on team math.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. But these are also the same people who
say,
love sci-fi.
People will basically hate me for this. I still say that the U.S. stock market, all markets, anything that has a number, it's a closed system, and you can't break the laws of math, so the machines literally drive it.
I'm not going to. I've been saying that, absolutely.
It's always been the bots.
Yep. We're in an algorithmic world. You want to join?
Absolutely.
All right, let's. And the last thing that Daniel brought up is, are we going to raise rates? I think we kind of already talked about that. I think that the 0.25 is already. It's next week, by the way. I think it's already baked in, as they've said all morning long. Yeah, I've heard that over and over again because they talk about it on these shows. It's already baked in. So, because there's concern about inflation, it's still going up. It went up this past month. And so did we hit the bottom and now we're going to start going back up again? It'll be an interesting thing to see what happens. But in my opinion, and it's just an opinion because I don't even think the Fed knows. Well, yeah, I think they do know because I think several leaders throughout the world have told them what they're going to do. Is that we're going to do 0.25 next week, and then there is some talk about zero all next year, because we're not going to get anywhere close to that 2.0, and the new normal now could be 2.5 up to 3, and they're just going to stay there and just let it run. So we'll see. Any other comments on that? Supply and demand. The rich are basically buying up the supply and the demand.
Yeah, no, it's just it's going to keep, like, when you think about it, a rate cut just injects liquidity into these markets, and where does money go? Money goes where it's treated better, and that's going to be all of these tech companies. So literally, you get a rate cut, it opens up liquidity, it gets injected into these tech companies, and the roller coaster just keeps going up.
Yep, and just the thing is, we owe money, we owe the liquidity, and it's just going to keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's to a point that money doesn't mean anything. It's just
right,
it's just a digital number.
Hat now. Got to put on the economist hat, right? All right. So you have all these central banks, right? anytime it's like a domino effect. Let's say the UK central bank versus the US central bank versus, I don't know, China central bank, right? They all basically have a rate and they lend money to each other across that rate. Anytime one does versus another, the other person makes money. So in order to basically make it fair for everyone, they will play a let's say, for example, I'm going to make my interest rate 0.10% lower than yours, which means if I am holding yours, I am going to make a 0.10% profit every day I hold your money. So you don't want to lower your rate faster than they do, so that way you can continue to make money. And then when it reverses, let's say, for example, someone raises their rate, just like Japan did, when they raise their rate, people are like, okay, that's signaling, okay, I can't store my money over here because I'm not making the same amount of money over here anymore. Let me move it to this central bank or this central bank where I can make that money again. So it's literally at the governmental level. The interest rate change impacts the people, yes, but primarily it's how the central banks handle how they make money on a daily basis under the covers, because all the money doing is sitting. There's something called Nostra's accounts where it's like, I'm going to hold US dollars in this UK bank, or I'm going to hold yuan in this American bank, and it's not converted, and it's like daily interest that they make off the money. So will it hurt us if they lower the rate, if they raise the rate? Short term, no. Long term, for the global economy, if they're trying to stabilize the global economy, they will probably get the rates where they're pretty close, but where everyone can still make money.
Well, the 0.25 is not much, and it like you said, it's not
But
going to impact anything right now. It's going to impact later.
So, for example, the Australian dollar versus the U.S. dollar, we play in the forex market, right? Mm-hmm. Always sell AUD USD because every single day you'll make about a 0.25%.
That's what
no
you're
matter
saying.
Which way it goes, you're going to make that 0.25% more on your money.
Sure, and that's what you were spelling out, is that it does have an immediate impact when they do it with the exchange, et cetera, with the central banks, which I think they get together and decide who's going to do what when. But and then just kind of trade around and keep that cycle going.
And basically all you're trying to do is balance the scales. And each company, each country has a bank that has scales, and they're just saying, hey, we're going to move it here. Your interest rate looks good. You lowered it. Thank you for doing that. Sure. Here's all of our money.
Right. With the longer impact in the economies, not the exchange, which I guess you could put those two together, is that, like the 0.5 that was done, the big one that everybody yelled about.
That's actually why the dollar's going up. People are storing their money in dollars now because of that cut. Because they can make money because it's sitting in the dollar. It's lower versus their own, which is how we're making money. And that's how they're making money. And that's how the dollar is physically getting stronger.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see here what's going to happen. I think the dollar is at a point where it's like, right, that it could, we aren't supposed to talk about the dollar. But,
and then, the narrative, they're going to replace it with crypto. They're going to replace it with crypto.
Which we didn't talk about. Crypto hit over 100 again today. It was 101.7 or 101.4. I mean, whatever's being done there, I don't know. Yeah. I think this is all because of having a friendly SEC person who likes crypto, FTC person, I think, that likes crypto too. It's just like all these people that are being appointed are crypto friendly, and so they're just running with that narrative.
Even on the best scenarios, on the best, like I've even asked several AI models, how long would it take to de-seat the dollar? Right. Fastest estimate is 25 years. That is the fastest because the central banks have to agree on interest rates on all of these currencies that they don't own.
Well, what would the quantum computer say?
A fast process.
Yeah, right.
So buckle up. By the time we're in our 70s and when we're in diapers, maybe the dollar will be gone.
And our kids are still trying to pay that debt.
Your bank account is empty and the dollar's now worth nothing tomorrow.
Yep. Like I said, and at that point in 30, 40, 50 years, while they're still trying to pay down the current debt that the U.S. has, then we'll see what's happening there.
Store it somewhere. Store it, that debt, borrow it, store it somewhere. You automatically make money on
it. Put it all in tokens. Economics. All right. All right, let's go on. It's the winner for this week in our weekly wager. It was
Yes.
and
Josh,
I thought it was.
come to the winner's circle, Josh.
I thought it
Join
was
me.
funny.
now.
I thought it was funny though because a couple of weeks ago I thought, let's do something kind of fun and introduce a stock that has an ER that week, and it has been kind of a fun ride. It's been a roller coaster this week, especially. I mean, it went way up to the very tops, and I was sitting back with a little
The umbrella.
tropical drink, an umbrella, yeah, with my flip flops up on the counter and saying, "Hey, I got this week, no problem." And then all of a sudden, bam, one big candle on the 4 hour, and it was like, woo, right down to almost Royce's, and I don't know if it touched yours or not. And then it settled in right at
this morning it got down to about 36. It opened up about 36 pre-market.
Yeah. So I mean, it hit every one of our channels. Which of course now we know that anytime it's that volatile, it expands the. That's what we've learned.
It will expand, and
top and bottom is.
Yep.
Which will give it more room to do that, and it'll take a while for it to squeeze back down again. So we'll see what happens.
Validation that it stays in our ranges.
Yeah, it did actually top and bottom pretty much. It did go past mine a little bit, but yeah, it definitely was crazy, and it was one of those candles, that they have all the time. I call them crime candles. Don't start, Royce. Where it goes to here, and then it does this quick boop and back down. Yep. And it's like somebody made a lot of money right there. Somebody, some market maker made somebody
a
lot of money.
You got wick-napped by a candle.
Right. So anyway, congratulations, Josh. I will bring up the scoreboard. There it is. You will see that. You guys don't see, but I do. There is. It's now 4-3 to 4-3. Which means that in the overall race between the quantitutes and the apes, it is 7-7, which is kind of fun. And then we have at the top of each team, we have Josh at 4 and Royce at 4. And we did this last time, didn't we? The last season.
Yeah, season it came down to a dead heat.
What I think would be fun is that we have a dead heat between 4. But we'll see what happens. Because Daniel and I are both at 3-3, so it's my fault. I'm the one that introduced.
300% better than he did last time. So
he is. That's because he actually gets a participation trophy this time, as well. All right. So, boys, let's look before. And I kind of jumped ahead, but I think it's best to do the charts here towards the end, anyway. Okay. Just in case you ever want to redo, hold on.
Are we doing the pick?
We're going to do the After the Bell by Arbitrage Trade, Crayons and Charts, and hosted by Royce. So here you go.
All right. Here we go, guys. Here we go, folks. All right. We saw Google and we talked about Willow, and everyone said, yes, this is going to be the next great thing, right? Well, maybe. We do have a buy signal on our weekly time frame, which is rare, but I'm going to basically drill in and show you something that doesn't look so nice for Google statistically. All right, so let me turn off the 3D indicator and let me zoom in way in here. Typically, statistically, since my model's from about 1970, let's go back to Google and talk about this, right? From about 1970, the day that I have when I started this model, statistically, if I am in a deflection zone and this arrow shows up and this dollar sign shows up, there is almost a 95% chance the next move is a downward move. Basically, it's running out of probability. That's where the 3D comes in to say, okay, yes, that candle made probability expand, but now you're looking at negative probability. These guys are not supposed to be able to make it up there that quick. And it might be able to punch and push, but even at its best, I don't think Google will get over 225. And here's the ugly part. Looking at this arbitrage band dashboard, weekly time frame, it says that in order for this buy trend that just started to be successful, it has to go revisit 169. So that's about a 20% haircut for Google. And possibly, since we're on the weekly time frame, this is going to be a 6 to 18 month trend. So, I mean, the next year to year and a half, I'm not expecting a whole lot out of Google except maybe down. So that's all I got for crayons and charts. Let's go back to you, Daniel. I mean, sorry, Darren. I'm going to call you Daniel.
We'll be waiting a long time for Daniel to pop up.
There we have it.
Yeah, it could be days. But yeah, it's so Willow has obviously is what made that pop, made it what happened.
Yes.
And we'll have to see. Then our closed system algorithms are saying it's going to get smacked back down.
Right back down. The next 6 to 18 months are going to be rough. Not saying that the next
it could be volatile, up and down. Yeah.
Not saying that the next 3 or 4 months won't be great, but the next 6 to 18 months are going to be rough. Seeing that this is on our weekly time frame.
Gotcha. All right, that's that was. Let me bring up the graphic just for hey, crayons and charts with Royce Wells, brought to you by Arbitrage. And let's go back to what we're going to do now is go back to that wager thing, because now since Josh won, the rule is he has to pick a stock, and then sometimes, most of the times, Royce has a little chart to show us why the ranges were picked, etc. So, and then he'll also have to again pick for Daniel. I'm gonna start calling him Daddy, Daniel's daddy, because he has to pick for him all the time now. So go ahead,
Josh. We'll be fine.
Josh, what is the Poppy? I want to be called Poppy anyway. Josh, I've only been called Poppy once. Josh, what is the stock this week?
Again.
I wanted to go a little topical and go with quantum computing.
All right.
The ticker is QUBT.
Going back to the charts and crayons, and here's Royce.
Quantum Computing Inc. I mean, you're going after the company itself.
Speaking of Willow.
Ooh, weekly time chart does not look great. Looking at the sky.
But in the spirit of volatility that we've been doing, over the last week or so, this one's kind of spicy.
It is. Let me go back to the 4 hour just to see if there are any dollar signs. There are a couple of dollar signs over here.
All
right. Looking at this, we got a range, and we roughly got about a $5-ish range. So roughly from $5 to $10 is our range. Who wants what?
5 to 10. Well, that's 5. So we're going 1.25 each.
Yeah. Or we can simplify. We can make it 5.50.
I mean, that's fine.
Okay.
So 5 to 625, 625 to 750, 750
to 875,
75, and then 875 to 10. All right. Yep. See, simple math. I went to elementary school. Hey, and Josh, I guess Josh, you get to pick, and then you get to pick whoever that might even be on your team next after you're done.
God, this one.
Nothing is forcing it back down. You see that, right? No buy in danger, no sell in danger.
I know
he's leading the witness here. There's a reason he's doing this. I've learned now.
Little clarity with this one. I mean, long term, obviously, I see some clarity, but short term, a couple of things could happen.
Okay.
Maybe someone buys it, like we talked about before. Talked about just within this session, we talked about that's what's going to happen.
Okay, so you said what was a 5 to 625 was a low range, or
5 to 625? Yes.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Which one? 625 and below?
5 to 625.
Yep, 625 and below.
625 and below. Okay. All right. And I'm going to take I didn't. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Are you picking your teammate? Are you picking your teammate or not?
Yeah, let's. Wait.
We need to win the team. Go team.
Did we do that last week? I don't remember.
That's what they keep doing.
It's possible. It's okay.
That's actually what's going to happen here, because he's going to pick both his and Daniel's. So I mean, that's what's going to happen.
Wait, what if I pick Daniel?
You got to even it out.
Well, you could let me pick and then go to Darren and then come back to me for the last pick.
You pick my channel, I'm going to be mad.
That seems underhanded. Daniel's not here, so he gets the rubbish. He gets what's left over.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, yeah, all right. Let's go. All right, Darren, your turn.
Yay! I had to, man.
He's ecstatic.
I feel like a lobbyist here, except I didn't send him like billions of dollars in crypto. All right, I'm gonna go with the next step up. Of course, we're gonna both have the bottom ends here. So I'm gonna be 625 to 750.
Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.
So now it's just a matter of which you get, which Daniel gets.
All right, I'm going Team Daniel. Up and to the right. I'm giving him the top one.
Okay.
And I'm going to go
That means we were right, Josh.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Actually, I want Daniel to catch up, so you can be the cheese that stands alone.
So I'll be the only one with only 3. Yeah, I get it. There are 3 fingers when I put up 3 like this, like when they make a 3 in basketball. If I remove 2 of them, my response might be, I didn't do it.
A pinky?
All right, guys, we've had a little too much fun. By the way, the ERs of note next week, I just figured this is something we can throw up every week now, is on Wednesday, and there's really not a whole lot going except for Wednesday, Thursday. Wednesday is Micron, Lennar, it's a housing home builder, General Mills. Thursday, you have Accenture, you have Nike, you have FedEx, Paychex, Carnival, if you're going to represent the cruise line, which is where all the wealthy is basically propping it up right now, is the cruise lines, and Darden Restaurants, which is going to be a reflection of restaurants and the traffic into restaurants. And then you have CarMax, which will be a reflection of the auto industry and how it's going. So a lot of things will be derived from that and narrated on your favorite or not favorite CNBC segment. So it'll be fun to see what they do with that information, what agendas they create with that moving into next week. So with that, we only have one more week, right, of the 18th, and we won't be here the 25th. So yeah, we only have one more left of.
But the season's not over. The season's not over.
It is not.
Yeah.
It is not. Yeah. We will not be in 2 weeks, but then we'll pick back up the next week. I think it depends on what that follows. No, I think we're off that week too. We'll see. But next week, we'll hopefully all 4 of us will be
New
here.
Year's is Christmas and New Year's are both on a Wednesday.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh wow.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, one more week here. Ho ho ho, as we said in the beginning. You have one more weekend of 2 more weekends of shopping left. Oh, well, whatever. We talked about so much here. My mind's blown with all the quantum stuff and everything. Anyway, so we will see you.
Like Biden, get off here.
No, you can add. Let's just to be fair here, and I even said this today: is the Republicans have their own Biden now too, and his name is McConnell. So who keeps falling and and he's not getting up. Today they pulled him out, and I even suggested this when he fell. It's like, when are they going to put him in a wheelchair? Well, today he's being strolled around in a wheelchair. So there we go.
Well, there you go.
And then somebody was calling it a retirement home. The Congress is now a retirement home,
which is pretty close.
Yes, let's get those age limits. A subject for future. Yeah. All right, guys. Merry Christmas, ho ho. See you next week one more time.
Oh yeah.
Bye.
There's some hope. Never mind.
There's some hoes. Okay.